Okay. So my name is Satonia. I am one of the authors for today, but I'm also the organizer and a member of Black Authors Pop-up MKE. So what we are is a collective of 50 local Black authors, varying genres. We got kids authors, motivational, Christian, across the whole board, fantasy, sci-fi, all of it. And when I created this, I just wanted to create a safe space where people can kind of bounce off of each other. They can work together to make themselves more visible in the market. We did some pop-ups. I'm not sure if you saw throughout the summer. We popped up at Black-owned businesses, and the authors sold their books. So as soon as we get out of this quarantine, you'll probably start seeing those also in the community again. So that's pretty much the gist of what Black Authors Pop-up is. It's really just getting Black authors together and getting Black books to the community. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Fidel with True School.
And thank you so much. And that is exactly how we met in the community. I met Satonia at one of the Black Author pop-up events this past summer, and I was immediately drawn in and immediately excited. And I immediately invited the whole crew, and I said, look, we do this really special thing in April for our True Knowledge Library celebration at True School. People can go to trueschool.org, TRUESKOOL.org, find out more about the organization that we have for the last 6 years. We've done a library anniversary for our in-house library at our after school and summer program for high school students. So literacy is huge for us. Pushing education is huge for us. We primarily focus on the elements of hip hop culture, and it's widely known and celebrated, and knowledge being the fifth element of hip hop, knowledge being the glue that pulls everything else together, from the DJs to the MCs to the graffiti writers, to the break dancers. The knowledge of those different crafts and knowledge of where they come from is really important. So we influence our students in publishing different works, different media, illustrations, poetry, by bringing in local authors who have done it, people that look like them, that come from where they come from, went to the schools that they went to, live in the neighborhoods they live in, and are published authors, and some of them self-published, self-starters, and really doing a great job marketing themselves and getting out here touching the community. Children's books, coloring books, historical nonfiction books. We've had a gambit of different authors, magazine publishers, newspaper freelancers, just showing young people the different pathways into publishing and into literary arts as a business, also as a personal passion. If it's just something that you really like doing and you want to share your work on a brighter scale, how does that look to publish an ebook? How does that look to publish a zine? How does that look to publish articles or any of that ways that young people can be inspired to tell their story? That's what brought us together. I thought that it would be a great idea to invite the Black Author Pop-up to True School to come to interface with our students. And then, this is our quick pivot based on the circumstances. We pivot to go into a virtual conversation where we still can have some interface with the community and also share some information, some insight to our young people and the general community about the process of writing, the process of publishing, all of that. So True School is really an incubation of imagination. So I really look forward to inviting you all to True School when all of this clears up. Y'all can come in and hang out with us and catch some of these vibes and make sure that we can get a hold of the books physically. Our young people can meet y'all, talk to you, ask you questions. So we look forward to that as well.
All right, thank you so much. And really, thank you for reaching out to me and getting this event going. When you reached out to me, I was like, yes, this is really what I want. I want this connection and grounding into the community. So we got some more work to do to
That's
kind of
right.
connect all our authors in the community more, but it really looks good. So I am going to go ahead and go over into my presentation. So I am a children's book author. My name is Sutonia, and I write the Misadventures of Tony Macaroni series. I just published the first one. And the inspiration for it was actually myself as a child. Whenever I'd go to the family barbecues, cookouts, whatever, everyone had a story. They would tell the same story every year about me or something crazy I did. So I decided, this is crazy enough and silly enough, funny enough to put in a children's book. So a lot of things that I pulled. This is about a very quirky little girl and her pet frog, Sir Hopsalot, which I did have a frog I named Sir Hopsalot as a child, um, who doesn't like her dad's cooking, and she compares him to a mad scientist. So it's her going through different ways trying to get out of his really bad cooking. Of course, having some knowledge along the way of how to handle situations properly or not. Oh, I just got someone coming in. All right. So that's really what it was for me, just that inspiration. I've always been a lover of books. So really telling this story from the heart, pulling on characters that are of people in my life that are no longer with me, were big inspirations to some of the characters, from the grandma who gave her advice in just the sweet, kindest way. And so that's pretty much what I have to say about that. I am going to flip it over to Mr. Lewis. Oops, oops, sorry. So go ahead.
All right, and first I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity. This is awesome, especially seeing that we're all stuck in the house during quarantine. So I really applaud those who put it together, and really it's a great opportunity. My name is Lewis Lee. I'm an educator by trade. I've been doing it for 22 years. It sounds weird just even saying that. So I've done 2 years as a paraprofessional. I've done about 13 years as a teacher, and then I've done 7 years in administration, doing some principal work and things like that. And I've always been one who likes to question reality. So my book, Trilithions and Dissonance, is really a story about questioning reality. I'm a first-time author. I'm learning a lot about the craft. It's one of those things you really think you just jump in, but it's really about craft. It's really about learning. And so my book, Trilithions and Dissonance, is about self-discovery. I'm working on book 2 right now, which is the third in Resonance, which is also a story about self-love. So I go from self-discovery to self-love. And I know there were some questions that we had for the presentation. So I just would go through a couple things, like one, the writing process. For me as a first-time author, I started with a question. I started with a question, and then I birthed an idea, and I go from there. And then I did a lot of journaling. For me, pen and paper, I'm old school. Pen and paper, pencil and paper is the best for me. So even now I got my journal here. And even in my journal, when I flip to it, you can just see pages and pages of just cursive writing and journaling and just doing it from that point, old school, and put it on paper. And then I would go into just writing, just getting everything down. A lot of times kids worry about putting things in sequence and following a structure. Sometimes you just need to put it on paper, and then you go and put your sequence together and get things going. One of the biggest challenges I've had is just really not letting the outside world shape what you want to do as an artist. A lot of times you just got to go into it. You just got to take a dive, take a risk, and then let the critiques come later, and have fun with it. And then, and I hope I'm not going over some of the questions that we're going over later. Are we good? Okay. And so that was the big, and one of the other biggest challenges for me is what I call exposing yourself. A lot of us have no problem sharing. We all love to share. Share is really about me sharing about my world. But when you expose yourself, and as an author, you have to expose yourself, it's really my world through somebody else's eyes. So they have to critique it. It's really about how someone else sees you, and that can get scary and tough. So I took a lot of lumps, a lot of feedback where people are, saying things that I didn't want to hear, but I needed to hear to become better, to get the product that I wanted. And then, now I'm at the stage where I'm marketing. So you see all throughout my basement, I got pictures of my novel up. You can find more about my novel at the website, trilithions.com. But the marketing for me is really just learning the process of, one, finding your audience. I'm a science fiction writer. So, I have to go and find that audience, and that's kind of hard to do. A lot of people are into the drama and all those kind of aspects. So it's kind of easier to find those. But if you're in a world where it's just a very limited area, the hardest part is once you find your audience, you'll sell, but it's finding that audience. And I'm struggling in finding that out myself now. But if you have a publisher, a traditional publisher, they'll help you with the media and news outlets. you're self-publishing, then you do a lot of things that are through social media, things that you can control and put out there yourself. And then the biggest thing, whether you're self-published or traditional, is really finding your brand, marketing yourself. So you build a brand, and with that brand, instead of you going out to find readers, eventually that brand brings the readers to you. And that's really what you want to get to towards the end. So, and just to give a little taste of my book is, again, Trilithions and Dissonance. And it's really about understanding reality. One of the things in my book is facts are important, but facts can be traps. We really want to use those facts to understand the world, because understanding is what makes you free. It makes you a different person. And so in my book, I really have a character who is going through the process of self-discovery, learning about themselves, and realizing that data-driven world sometimes can make you do things that you might not want to do. It's really about what you want to do. And for me personally, that was a big thing, because I spent 6 to 7 years as a principal, and I did that only because I wanted to climb that ladder and be successful in everyone else's eyes. And once I got to that top tier of what I felt was successful people, I was miserable. I felt like I didn't belong. Again, I'm a questioner of reality. I want to question everything and make everybody look at it from different perspectives. So for the young people out there, sometimes you just can't listen to us adults. You got to follow that passion that you have. And mine was to tell stories. And so this is my first stage of doing that with Trilithions. My second book, I'm working on it now, which is part of my next steps. And then the other process is sharing this with my sons. They actually want to be writers. And I'm like, oh my God, it went down the bloodline. So if I'm gonna, have some point of success in here, it'd just be to help them understand how to become authors, what the process is like. And like we were talking about earlier, you don't have to write a full 400-page novel. There are other aspects of writing you can get involved in, and to teach them all those areas. So things like today are really going to be good for them, that they can see so many other options. So I'd like to thank you guys, and that's pretty much my little spiel, and thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. All right, we are gonna go on to Miss Keith. Let's see. Oh, there we go. All right. Oh, we cannot hear you. Is in that bottom left, are you on mute or unmute?
Let's see if I can unmute her. Nope, I think she's on mute.
Yeah, on my end, it doesn't show that I have her muted. All right, so Miss Keith, let's try what we did, because we had this problem earlier. Try logging out and coming back in again, and see if we can admit you in, if that'll correct. All right, so she'll be right back in. We had this technology problem earlier. That's always the kind of bumps with moving over to technology, not always acting the way we need it to. But I really thank you guys again for taking this time out of your day and coming in to check in with some Milwaukee talent. And
yeah, that's really, I want to shout out everybody who's tuning in to this stream, and we will, replay this as well. This is a good test run for us. So, again, that gratitude is and that appreciation and that patience. Everybody have patience with this as we all figure it out together, as we all are adjusting to what this looks like to communicate in these different new platforms and these new ways of sharing information, and also being able to market and promote and network with one another. From a business level, we've always looked at it, we want our young people to think about how they can monetize their talents. And so, even with our True Knowledge library situations, we've had high schoolers that are published authors, self-published authors, just real self-motivated individuals that not only telling their own personal journey, their own real deep stories, but also going into that imagination and fiction world and telling relatable stories. So, we're really inspired by the community here in Milwaukee that has like so much rich talent, so many authors with so many works that you may not even know about. And so we've been able to be introduced to so many great individuals. We're really proud about that. Is Miss Hattie back?
All right, Miss Keith, can you say something for us?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can. All right.
Okay. What about now?
Yep.
Yep, we
Okay.
still got you.
All right, good. So should I continue or is somebody else speaking?
No, go ahead.
You go
Okay.
ahead.
So through it all, A Memoir of Love and Loss is my first book. And it is a memoir about a lost love. And I go in to tell the story of how I, as a teenager, fell in love at a young age. And to make a long story short, he lived in another town in Ohio and I was from Pennsylvania. And I met him when I was babysitting for my cousins. And when I went back home, we kind of kept writing for almost about 1.5 to 2 years. And he was a couple years older than me. And when he graduated, he went into the military, into the Air Force. And at that time was when the Vietnam War was going on. So during that time, we lost contact. And the last letter that I received from him, he asked me to marry him. And of course I wrote back real quick and said yes, but I never heard from him again. And so 37 years later, to be exact, I went out to find out what happened to a lost love.
Wow.
So that's what this book is about. But in the book, going back and forth with telling some childhood stories, as I went on to market and promote my book, I learned about adverse childhood experiences. And a lot of the childhood experiences that I mentioned in the book was traumatic, like losing my father at the age of 11. But actually, my parents separated when I was about 8 or 9 years old. And so that was a traumatic event. There was about 3 traumatic events that I just thought, well, that's life. You lose some, you win some. But they were actually ACEs, traumatic childhood experiences. And these childhood experiences help to, I shouldn't say help, but later in life cause you to have chronic illnesses, of which I have a heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. And so when I read more information about how these ACEs affect us later in life if they're unresolved, then I kept researching traumatic experiences. And in the meantime, I have been working with veterans who suffered with post-traumatic stress disorder, teaching them how to write what I call expressive writing, because it's a little more involved than just writing about what's on your mind today, but you're actually writing, addressing some prompts. So that brings me to my second book, because I figured that if I went through these kind of things, there must be other people, and especially women, that have gone through some of the same things, and I wanted to help them. And so I published Through It All Trauma Recovery Journal, which I list in there quotes to help stir their thoughts, and writing prompts, and then blank pages where they can draw or collage or something like that to help them work through some of their life events. Not everything in our life has been traumatic. We've had some good things too. So that's all encompassed in the book. The third book, African American Scientists and Inventors, was part of my learned how to do accelerated learning in my graduate studies. And it's how you bring in story and characters and all these kind of things into the story. So in my classroom, I would make up stories to go along with the terms that I was trying to teach. And that helped to increase long-term memory of those terms and things like that. And my students really enjoyed that. So in this book, I'm talking about scientists and inventors who helped to shape our society and is responsible for some of the things that we enjoy and take for granted that we don't even know that Black people created this or developed this. So there's all kinds of inventors and scientists in that book, and the curriculum, the lessons, pre and post tests, and the whole gamut, what you would want to just pick up as a classroom teacher and go ahead and teach it on Black history. Or for me, I taught Black history all year long. So those are the 3 books. My writing process, I started just when I did my first memoir. I just started writing in those spiral, 50, 60-cent spiral notebooks that you can get at Walmart at the beginning of the school year. And I must have had about 5 of them. I'm kind of like Lewis said, I'm old school. I like pen and paper. And then I write it down, and then I go to the computer and type it up. And while I'm typing it up, I'm revising and adding and deleting things. And so that works very well for me to be able to go back and type it up. But if I was to sit down and just type it up without writing it first, I have a difficult time putting my ideas together. It's just something about writing with that pen and that paper, like Lewis said, old school. I'm old school. That's how I started writing. So, so that's how I begin my writing process. And after that, because I didn't have an outline, I didn't draw out an outline like some authors do. I had to go back and restructure it. And some of the classes that I took online then suggested that I had told it from a past tense. This happened and that happened and da 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 in the past tense. But I found out through taking some of these classes that to tell that story in the present tense makes the reader or draws the reader into it. They're there with you. So it was like pulling teeth and pulling my hair out to go back and change the tenses. But when I did, it just made it so much better. It was powerful, even for me to go back and reread it as it's happening right then and there. So that was what I learned from that. And what else can I say about the writing process? I think basically that's it. Some people believe that they can edit their own work or have their friend edit it and stuff. It don't work like that. I mean, to put out a quality book, you really do need to edit and edit yourself and then have a professional edit it. And I learned that with my first book. I had friends and some of the members from the Milwaukee Writers Circle look at my book. And there was, I think, 5 of us that looked at my book and edited it and gave suggestions and everything. But there were still some mistakes in there. So it doesn't matter how many people look at it until you have a professional look at it. I like to look at it first and edit it so that I clean it up the best I can so that the editor sees things that I didn't see, because like the field is clear now. There's not as much distractions. And so you can go in as a professional editor and see things that the writer didn't see, or some of the friends and stuff didn't see, because it's cleaner. Understand what I mean? It's just a cleaner document that then you can see some of the real problems in it. So that's where I like to do. But when I had my TV show on public TV, I used to interview authors and stuff like that. And I had a lot of authors that came through and they just edited themselves, and you can tell it from the quality of their book. And so I'm saying that it's important to me, and it should be important to other writers as well, to do your best work and have it, and spend the time and money to have it professionally edited because your name is on that, and that book is never going to go away. I say there's two powerful people in the world. One are teachers, because we can go into the future and shape the future by the students that we teach. And the next powerful person is writers, because we go into the future, and after we're long gone, there'll be people reading our books. So we're shaping the future, but we didn't even have to be there, but our writing is there. So those are two powerful people that you don't really think we have a lot of power, but we do. So that's my writing process. You talked about the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge for me is marketing and promoting, because I'm not good at tooting my own horn. I can toot somebody else's real good, but not necessarily mine. So getting out there and promoting it, the marketing, the branding and stuff like that, I had to learn, and had to learn the hard way. Marketing is a hard thing to do if you don't know what you're doing. So those are my two, I'll say, biggest challenges, was the marketing and promoting, which I've learned a lot more, but I'm still learning as I go. So that's about it, I think, as far as those questions.
Oh, that was good. Thank you so much. I really loved what you said about getting someone else to look at your books.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I switch it over to Mr. Cannon, if you have questions, start typing them in or getting them ready, because after that, we'll go into the Q&A.
Okay.
I can start.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you.
Okay, so I have my book right here called Enlightenment. Now, a lot of people always ask, why did you change it from an E to an I? And the reason why I did that was simply because I wanted to focus on the internal side of people, and to help people realize that their experiences and what they go through are some of the most powerful tools that can help them progress in life. So inside the book, what I did was I created my own quotes. I added messages to those quotes. And then they also focus on different topics such as friendships, relationships, finance, gratitude, different things and experiences that we go through to help the reader see their life experience from a different perspective, realizing that they can take that. And when they go through this experience again, because normally experiences that we go through it again until we learn from it. So instead of having to learn from something 5 different times, you can learn from it the second time. So the book is focused on like being more positive, shifting your mindset, using your thoughts and actions to help you get to where you need to go. So then in the back of the book, I also have words of encouragement and a little snippet to go with each word of encouragement, along with some more quotes. And then I have a goal check-in system. And I focused on, I use the NBA analogy because a lot of people know basketball worldwide. So you have your first quarter, your second quarter, your third quarter, your fourth quarter. And for each quarter, I added a quote, and it helps. And also a month such as like March, June, August, and October. So the different quarters that we go throughout the year to help people check back in with their goals, see if they're doing what they need to do. I started my writing process pretty much. I started writing. It was a blog at first, but then I realized I wanted to get the material out to more people. So I felt that I can just put it in a book, and I did that. And that manifested into more. So I now have a blog called Enlightened Thoughts. And each day on Instagram and Facebook, I post motivating and inspiring content for people to just use throughout their life. My biggest challenge for me was getting past my own laziness, because I have a second book that I'll probably that I will start writing this summer. So just actually taking the time out to start writing and doing what I need to do to get the second book completed.
All right. Perfect. Thank you guys so much. So I am gonna move it over to the Q&A section of this talk. If anyone has a question, they can unmute themselves and go ahead, direct it at any of the authors, all of us.
All right, I'm gonna start it off while they getting their questions loaded.
Okay.
Everybody check into the chat room. I also added the links to each of our featured authors' books this evening. So we encourage everyone to go ahead, click that link, support it, purchase you a copy, so you can go ahead and have one and learn more about what's really going on. I want to start with Brother Lewis. Say the name of that book one more time, because when I first saw it, I just said, well, okay, this got to be something serious, because the title was just ill. Say it again.
The name of the book is Trilithions in Dissonance.
What does trilithions even mean?
Well,
how about that?
Trilithions isn't even a word. I made it up. And so
That's what I'm talking about.
So triliths are those figures you see in Europe, in the ring, and it has a lot of spiritual meaning. And Eon is pretty much a god. So some of my main characters are spiritual gods. And so it's a time travel book. And when they go back to Egypt, they learn about these spiritual gods. And that's why my second book, we removed the word trilithions, because that's a made up Greek word, and they go to their real selves, which is called the third. And so the second book, it really goes into self-love and things like that. So it was a word I made up, and I had a lot of problems at first because, you know, a lot of words are already out there in the language. And so sometimes you just got to make your own stuff up and make it your own. And so
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Because when I first saw it, I looked it up.
Same.
I'm like,
It is homework on me, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I said, where are we going with this? That's good. That's good. And then I got a question also, Brother Marshall. Is it safe to say that you took your blog content and just translated some of that directly into your book when you first started it?
Hey, pause. Could you say it one more time for me?
Did you actually take what your blog work, like the actual content that was on your blog, and translate and transfer that into your book? Like you said, you started with a blog and then you wanted to reach a wider audience. Did you just take literally some of that content directly and start your book?
Pieces of it, but not that much, because I realized that what I was putting out on the blog, I said it was good. I felt it was good, but it could be a lot better. So what I did was I took it back and kind of transformed it a little bit. You can actually do that. I would say if people have a blog and people are invested in it, they're commenting on it and they're liking it, then you could definitely take pieces from your blog and put it in the book.
I see some people,
a lot of people do that already.
I see some people's Facebook posts, and I'm like, yo, they should write a book. Jeez,
yeah, definitely. Right? So people, I mean,
put all that time into a whole bunch of Facebook posts over. That's a book. Yep.
Exactly.
You already got a readership. You already got readership, comments. That's great. And I got one more question for Miss Hattie. All right.
Okay.
I don't know if this is the burning question out there, but did you ever find out what happened?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I found out what happened, and in the process of me searching for him, because if you keep searching, there's a part in the Bible that says if you keep searching and seeking, the door will be open to you. If you don't give up, you keep looking for your answers, you get your answers. And so, yes, I found out, and through finding out what happened to us, to him, I found myself. Now that's deep, but you got to read the book.
It's in the book.
It's in the book.
Good stuff.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, now I'm intrigued. We definitely have to get on this link and have a book follow-up.
Yeah.
What that finding out was. I know a lot of us talked about the writing process. Because I'm the only children's book author here, I did want to go back and talk about writing process from the point of view of children's books. So I first thought about this in 2011, but it literally took me all the way, 2020 to post it, to get it posted, to publish it, because of procrastination. And that's what other people were saying as well. I had to really force myself to sit down and do it. I had to carve out time. And for me, my handwriting is terrible, so I would not be able to copy it later. So I just go straight into the computer and type it in as the thoughts are flowing. And then I go back and edit it to make it smoother. Something I'd say for children's book writers, make sure you get a good illustrator and someone to format your book. Something I noticed while kind of reaching out to other children's book writers, I'm in a whole group, that some people were getting the cheapest illustrator they could, and putting the book together themselves. And some people are very great at that. If that is your skill set, then that is great. But if it's not your skill set, go ahead and save that extra money, spend that extra money for good pictures, good book layout. Because there has been books that I've like, oh, that sounds really interesting. But then I click on it and it's some stick figures and like the writing is lopsided or all sorts of things. And that really kind of shuts me off from the book. So you want to make sure to be as professional as you can, so that you don't shut off some portion of your people you're trying to reach, because the editing is bad or the pictures are bad. So I definitely wanted to reiterate what Ms. Keith was saying about having someone professional edit. I thought, my editing was good. I went with a professional. She noticed that, and I had read this book time and time again. I had named the brother earlier on Zion, and then changed it to Zaire. So I just kept switching back and forth between those two names all throughout the book and didn't even notice until someone who was a professional came in and was like, okay, you got to pick one. So definitely want to reiterate, get a professional in there.
Exactly.
And that's another great point that we emphasize to a lot of the young people that we work with. You don't have to be the master writer or the master illustrator, right? You could be one of those, and that's great. Those two should get together, like you were saying, right? But then there's also the other people that maybe just like literature and language, and they could be an extra set of eyes. And another young person who may have a mouthpiece, and they may just know how to sell things and know how to position this product and this idea into a way that they can amplify it to more people. Because a lot of writers are self-conscious and maybe reserved in a way. A lot of creatives are in general, I think. And so that's another thing that we often emphasize, which I really appreciate why why Black Authors Pop-up is such a powerful network, because you get to learn about what resources people have, right? So if I need an illustrator, I can say, Satonia, your book is laid out immaculately. I want this kind of look. Where should I go, right? So some of it is just about awareness and people having the access to folks who have done it and what that journey is like. We have to just step up and start sharing, tools, sharing links, sharing information. And I heard Sister Hetty said, she went back to an online course. After already going through education, she took an online course about how to make sure what she was doing was, intentional and successful, so that education never stops.
Right. Doesn't. And having, if I can add this, having a critique group like I do at the Milwaukee Writers Circle, at times they function too as a focus group, because they were telling me that they liked the story and giving me suggestions how it could be better. And that was so valuable to know that I was hitting my target population. They were enjoying it and were getting out of it what I wanted them to get out.
Now, did you start the Milwaukee's Writers Circle?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Next month, May 10th, we'll be 10 years old.
Wow. I'm about to post a Facebook link to that group as well. So if people want more information, or if they want to check that out, definitely do that. It's a great resource.
We're on meetup.com.
Okay.
And it's / Milwaukee Writers Circle. And that's where you join us at. Awesome. We also have a Facebook page, but that's just people who want to know more about writing. Sometimes we post things there, but we have our actual meetings through the meetup.com.
Gotcha.
And we're meeting at No Studios when we're back and up and running and able to get back out and meet people. We have our meetings at No Studios.
Awesome. So I just put both of those links in there. So we encourage people to support the Milwaukee's Writers Circle. Yeah, it's awesome.
And just to chime in real quick, I'm also a part of that group. And it's good to have someone, because again, I'm a storyteller. I always tell everyone, I'm a storyteller. Writing is the next stage that I have to improve. And that's the part of the craft that I have to learn. And to have a group to sit down and say, Lewis, do that over. It's just awesome. Mm-hmm. So it lets you know who you are. And it gives you, like you said, a network of people, even like what we're doing today, someone you can bounce ideas off of, because that's the main goal. Right. You got to have a mirror to bounce those ideas off so you can see what you're doing.
Right. And we help one another with we share our experiences. And so if you say you're looking for an illustrator and we know of an illustrator, or we know who not to go to because you're not going to get what you're looking for,
Yeah.
those kind of things. And we also offer workshops. And the most recent one, I think, was branding, how to brand yourself. Just like McDonald's brands itself.
Yeah.
You see that yellow arch and that yellow and that red, and wherever you are, even if you're out of the country, you can get a Big Mac, you can get a quarter pounder, you can get some fries, etc. You go there knowing what to get. So we have to do that kind of branding so that our writing speaks for us. And so, okay, I know if I buy one of Lewis's books, he's going to be talking about scientific, what do you call that?
Time travel.
Time travel and all those good things that people want to know about.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for memoir writers or educational pieces, that's me. And so each one of us kind of carve out our own branding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a powerful point. If just want to know if any of you had considered audio for your publication.
I haven't put mine on audio yet.
Yes, I've considered either a YouTube channel to do like small readings, because mine is a early chapter book. So there's about 6 chapters in there, and kind of just small videos at a time that children can sit down long enough to watch. And I also have considered audio as well, but I'm not sure for my age group. I'll definitely have to do some more research, but also I'm in the writer's circle as well. And then I'm still trying to build Black Authors Pop-up to be that collective as well. So definitely asking more questions as I connect with more authors, I think would be great.
Yeah.
Figuring out which way I want to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
And just to kind of add, it goes back to what you're saying, networking. I've thought about it, but I don't have the skill set to say how to do it. I need to learn the process because your publishers offer it, but there's always that language you got to read and figure out. And so for me, it's first I have to learn that process first.
Sure.
What happens with it? How do I market? So it's something I'm going to look into it, but it goes back into, especially if there's young people on here, that's the resources. You got to network, resource, learn about it. Don't just jump in. It's just one of those things I want to learn about first. So I have thought about it, but my inexperience won't let me go that way for it. I'm going to learn it first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I wanted to go to Miss Shalina in the chat. She just asked, and I'm going to open this up for all of us to answer. How does your local support compare to folks who are not in your close network?
Can she elaborate a little bit more? I'm not sure exactly.
So like your local Milwaukee support, how does that compare to people who are outside of Milwaukee? How does that support look for your book? Is that a little clear for your writing? Would you say most of your support comes locally, or is it more widespread?
Mine is more locally, but I have gone outside of Milwaukee during my family reunions and stuff. I have sold a lot of books to my family. So it's both, but my basic support comes from people that know me, people that have experienced the books in some way. They came across it. Yeah. So with the book signings that I've done here in the Milwaukee area, at Boswell Bookstore, I had my first book signing, and I've done book signings at Woodland Pattern Bookstore, and then I was on the what do you call it, Off the Shelf Book Club, and then recently last fall I got a award from Off the Shelf Book Club. So now I can say that I'm an award-winning author.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Add that to the little section about the author.
Yeah.
In the back.
That
I
helps.
think.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Mhm.
Can you hear me? I had a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, have any of you looked into Fiverr website that's pretty helpful for resources like marketing, promoting on social media? I'm Gideon, by the way. I'm into marketing promotion. And whenever I can't market a product of my own or don't have time, I sometimes go to Fiverr. And there's people on there who specialize in social media marketing, who specialize in maintenance for your social media pages and stuff. And so if you haven't considered it, I just wanted to recommend it.
I probably use it. I do, not probably. I use Fiverr exclusively.
Hmm.
They put together, well, except for my first book. My first book was designed locally, but the other two was designed on Fiverr. And I'm working on other people's books, and it's all designed on Fiverr because I can get it back quick. The price is reasonable. The work is, I would say, even outstanding. And so I've even contracted with editors on Fiverr.
Hmm.
So my editors, my flyers, and I have another organization that I just got the envelopes, my stationery, business cards for that organization, and everything for that organization through Fiverr. It's just reasonable.
Yeah.
And starting out, we don't have a lot of money to pay somebody to make our business card. It's just the reality of it. When you're
Yeah.
self-publishing, you don't have a lot of money to spend on certain things. So,
And a lot of times with that platform, you're helping another young creative entrepreneur as well. You know, that's another youngster on the other end of there. A lot of times that's, you know, in the same boat, just another skill set that they're offering. So that's a great suggestion. Thanks a lot, Gideon.
And just if I can jump in real quick on that as well, when it comes to local and you know, out of state and somewhere that's out of, you know, your stream of control, my biggest thing is I don't have the measuring tools, and that's why you don't have an infrastructure at home. I can control it. I can go and do the things, get immediate feedback and fix it. But when you're outsourcing, sometimes you lack that infrastructure, at least for me as a first-time author. So to even hear that suggestion, I'm going to be writing that down and using that as well. So this is teaching me.
Sure.
So I like that resource because that system sounds like it gives you that infrastructure to reach people that are just not in your local area, your state. That's what you need, is an infrastructure so that you can get the feedback, you can make some changes and adjust. It's just hard to do through social media and the small platform. So right now I'm doing more local things, but I do appreciate the suggestion because I'm going to look into that right after we get off.
I'm surprised I never shared that with you, Louis.
Hey, I'm going to get on
it. We never got around to that. But these are people from all over the world. The only people that I won't deal with is the Nigerians. I tried them several times and they just didn't come through. They messed up I was going to publish the book of the African American scientists and inventors, and they messed it up. They messed it up so bad they had to give me my money back. Yeah, but everybody else, I'll try them. I always check out their demos to see what they like and what I like about what they did before I contract with them. And make sure you get your source file, that if you need to make any changes or you want to put it on a cup or a t-shirt or something, that you can make those changes. So I always choose the ones that have a good review and the one that offer the source file.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm gonna jump in on the local support and also Fiverr. I'm finding that I actually, when you first start doing something entrepreneurial, the first thing everyone tells you is, oh, it'll be your family and friends that are the last to support you, and everybody else will, and everybody else will. But actually, I found the opposite, which I don't know what everyone's experience. It does seem like family, friends, people who maybe saw me once in a picture, but they know someone who knows me. So people in very close networks have been the ones who have been supported. I definitely know about Fiverr I did find an editor from there and some other things. And I thank you so much for bringing that up, because I am marketing. Of all the things that's been hard for being a writer, marketing has been the absolute hardest. So
Mhm.
I'll definitely look into that. And I just wanted to add on to what other people were saying about Fiverr. Absolutely, really talented people on there, but just also make sure, maybe look at the reviews, make sure you
Mhm.
know what it is they should be offering. Because my first round with my book, I tried to get a illustrator from there, being hard-headed, and didn't quite know what I should be getting. So
Mm.
she did my illustrations that were not even good for printing. Like if you printed out your book, weren't good for that. But I didn't know any of that before going into it. So just make sure when you're going in, um, to have all your facts straight as well.
Know what you need. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And for me, I would say both. And then my biggest thing was for me, I didn't expect family and friends to want it just because I think the objective for your book, you want people to like it, but you also want to make sales. So if someone, they can read it, but that doesn't mean they don't love you and care about you just because they didn't like the product. And when they tell me it's pretty good, could be better, that just helps me become a better writer. So I like it from that perspective. As far as I get local support, but then I also am building more connections outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because you kind of want to build those connections and network in case you go to those places, and then you can have those people to help promote your book as well.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what I want to ask, one of you all kind of, all of you all kind of touched on the process, but just speak on what people might consider writer's block, right? We've all heard the term before, and we know a lot of people, when we put this announcement out there, we were partnering with Black Authors Pop-up, and we want to talk about, local publishers and young people who are interested in publishing. We get a lot of a good feedback of people who are serious about wanting to publish a book, right? You can be serious about wanting a lot of stuff though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what's that next step that you would advise, young or old, any person, to say, you know what, everybody got a story to tell.
Yeah.
And it probably could inspire somebody else, probably could help somebody else, and we don't even know it. We might be sitting on a gold mine. We may be
Yeah.
sitting on the next major motion picture. And that could be our life story. That could be some crazy imagination we've been having running in our heads for years, storyline. So let's just, talk a little bit about the motivation and what would you say to help, get people started, especially in this environment where we all, staying safe at home. We are trying to think about how to utilize this time and be productive. And, I know this is a shift for some people. Some of us are still out. Essential workers are still out
Mm-hmm.
every day. And we salute every one of them that are on the front lines every day. But, for those who may be thinking about this time and saying, you know what, I need to get on this project I've been sitting on for all these years. I need to get on this story that I've been sitting on. Let me get on this. What's the next step? What would you say?
Just do it. Just start
Yeah.
writing. Just start writing, and especially now is a good time because we're homebound, most of us.
Yeah.
And especially me, I'm here. I don't have to go outside the house if I don't want to, as my kids will come and go grocery shopping for me. But I'm sick and tired of sitting here on this computer all day long. So now I'm venturing out to go do some grocery shopping. But and you also mentioned about writer's block. There was it. It took me 12 years to finish that book.
Mm.
And I say, it took 12 years because it was very intense, emotionally intense. So there's sometimes that I had to put the book down and go and do something else. So maybe I looked at what I want for the elements that I want for the book cover, or writing the synopsis, or writing the summary, or the introduction. I would just take my mind off of the emotionally intense parts, and put it on some other thing for the book. That's the way I got around that.
For me,
I
oh,
go
go ahead.
ahead. Oh,
Did you go?
all right, I'll go. I'll stop
You go
it.
ahead.
I'd say a part for me is to identify, kind of call yourself out when you're really just being lazy, or versus writer's block. Like it, sometimes it was just me saying, oh, I really don't know what to write. Oh, I really don't have the time. But call yourself out on it. Make sure maybe have an accountability writer. I actually went into another group and got an accountability writer who we hold each other accountable. Like, did you write today? Didn't you say you were about to hit this writing goal? So either holding yourself accountable or get an accountability partner. I'm in the process of writing a fantasy book. And sometimes if I'm having writer's block, I just write a sentence of some dialogue I see. And all of a sudden that sentence blooms into this whole next few pages. So like Miss Keith was saying, just do it. If it's just a random word that's a random dialogue, get it out there. You never know what it could lead into.
And one thing that helped me too, Centonia, is I went to a conference, and one of the workshops that I took suggested that if you have a goal, make an appointment every day at the same time to sit down, even if it's just for 5 minutes, to make that appointment and write for 5 minutes. So I started doing that, and that's how I finished the book. So I would make an appointment for 8 o'clock in the morning. I'd write for at least 5 minutes. But it turned out, I once I got started, once I made that commitment, I might write for a couple hours, but no matter what happens, you sit down, you make that appointment, you keep up with that commitment to write for 5 minutes.
And what I was going to say when we were having our back and forth, one thing that I learned about writer's block for me was something was missing inside of myself. I actually came up with this idea with my book probably when I was in high school. So that's like 89, 90. And so I finally put it on paper, but I ran into that writer's block. And I think it was because I didn't have pieces of me filled in. I didn't have experiences yet to let me finish my story. And I will say right around the time that I started studying martial arts, I got Kempo Goju on my shirt here, so shout out to Kempo Goju School of Karate. Once I started studying the karate, it started filling in gaps. And then when all my experiences started filling in those gaps, I was able to make connections from my story and from other people's experiences and balance out my books, because there were scenes that I couldn't fill out, but martial arts allowed me to do it, whether it was a fighting scene or whether it's just how to be disciplined. I know how to do it personally, but I didn't know how to express that to someone else. But then when you're studying martial arts with other people, it allowed me to do that. So sometimes it's just spiritually, you're having that block because there's something you need to fulfill in your own personal life. And for me, it was martial arts. Once I did that, the book was finished. So sometimes it's a matter of finding an experience that allows you to keep that passion going and finish your novel.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I would say sometimes writer's block can simply be the fact that you know something, like you can finish this, but you have a fear that someone might not like it, or you have a fear that it won't sell. So you put it in your own mindset that you need to procrastinate or you don't need to finish it. And sometimes it could be that. You might have all these ideas that you want to put on paper, but the fear of seeing what could happen after you create it, that could be potentially a piece of writer's block. So for me, I just kind of piece it together. I just chip away at it, carve at it one day at a time, write down a sentence like Satonia said. Maybe you do a paragraph, maybe you do a page, maybe you take away all that, maybe you start over. It's just a process. So you just got to have trust in your process, and you actually got to decide and commit. So that's a quote I put in my book. The power of deciding and committing can defeat any doubt or excuse that ever crosses your mind. And I believe once you do decide and commit to what you want to do, you'll see it through.
That's it. I just want to read a quote that Nelson Mandela is quoted with saying. A couple other people I think are quoted with saying that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are more powerful beyond our measure. Right. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. So that's something I remember from reading when I was younger somewhere, and that's one of those things that I know also intimidates a lot of us youngsters especially, is we know it might work. We know it actually might work. It might really be the biggest thing, and so that's part of it also. So I love the idea. I love the spirit. The answer to the question was unanimous. It was like, just do it, just start. Everybody almost said it at once because that's real experience. That's real experience right there. That's appreciated. Do we have any more questions from any of our viewers or in the chat?
Anybody inspired to do a pandemic book about the pandemic?
Huh.
Probably not. Nah.
Maybe a children's book about the pandemic?
Oh, that's possible. I think I could probably, from a perspective of like mental health, helping kids, because I know it's a lot of kids who are in domestic homes, who are homeless, and they might need that type of inspiration and motivation to get through from a child's perspective. So it's possible. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, and I've heard that violence has gone, street violence has gone down, where domestic violence has gone up
Yes.
during this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Go figure.
For me, on my page, I've switched over to doing crafts. So I call it, since my book is The Misadventures of Tony Macaroni in the Mad Scientist, I started doing the Mad Scientist Minute. So it's just a minute video detailing a craft of things most people have ready to go in the house that kids can do. So that's kind of my way of pivoting in this crisis for kids as they're stuck in the house. You know, every kid doesn't have a backyard. They can go to, some kids' parents are working, so they can't just be out running or things like that. So that was
Last thing. Have you guys seen this new trend on YouTube where people are reading books? That's all they do, is read books. People,
well, I welcome
the kids, and they promote their books by just reading the entire book on a YouTube link, and then they link the Amazon link to the book in case people like it. Just a thought.
No, I haven't.
My kids, my children, they watch these kids videos and it's other children reading children's books. And I love it. It's just like, they're just sitting there reading to each other. And so, yeah, that's dope.
That's good. There are some good things happening. We just have to look for the good of this situation.
That's right.
And that's one of the things people are reading. If that's good. And then getting together in webinars like this, that's good.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have the time to take and do that before.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Even some of the library programs have went online, you know, because the libraries are closed. So I've even seen some librarians doing some readings and some literary things online, trying to, you know, keep young people and keep students engaged during this time. So you're right. It's just a matter of awareness. So we're going to do what we can on our end to keep promoting things. If any of you all want to, you know, directly link up with us, our website is trueskool.org. All of our social media is TrueSkool414, TRUESKOOL 414 on Instagram and all of that fun stuff. So we would love to connect with you guys and make sure we stay on your radar with all of our events and different things that we can collaborate and cross promote. And then again, when the dust settles and the who knows when, whatever comes back, we can invite you all to True School to come see the library and come, you know, speak with the students as well. We definitely look forward to that.
Okay. And then with Black Authors, we've got one question that just came in.
Awesome.
All right. As published authors, where are you finding interest, support, and sales?
For me, I would say like Instagram and Facebook. Those are the biggest interests because that's where a lot of people are. Still trying to figure out the new TikTok thing. I don't know. That's more music-based than dance-based. So that might not be something, but Facebook and Instagram is big. You can also put out ads for a couple of dollars. You just have to make sure that you use the specific words that are geared towards what you have written. And that way you can reach the people that Instagram will put it out to or in front of.
For me, with science fiction, that is pretty tough also in finding that audience. So for me, it is a lot of social media and then using the social media to find out where other events are. So if there's a convention where they're talking about science, okay, maybe I can reach out to that convention person that's running that convention, see if I can come in, sell books or market myself, hand out flyers. So there's going to be some, before the quarantine happened, I was ready to do some traveling and go to conventions where I knew there were science people. There were people that were into science fiction. And so a lot of that is just first using that social media to find where the events are and then get yourself in there and network. So it's a lot of layered marketing and a lot of layered research and finding out how to market yourself and get out there.
So would you say, and this goes for all of you, predominantly, where are you getting your sales? Online or hand-to-hand in person? Where are you getting your sales support from?
I would say a mix of both for me. I just try to go to different expos, vendor events, sell my book there. Amazon is pretty big. You just got to put your link out. You got to promote your link. I got some from like Instagram ads. So you just have to play around a little bit with the ads, and then also reaching out to people or having people do it as a part of word of mouth, or have people share your link on Facebook or something like that.
Yeah. And I would echo that. It's a little bit of both. It starts out as in person because, you have your book signing and you have it in your car, in your trunk, and you can go to events. But then that starts to dwindle down. And now you have to find other avenues. And that's kind of where I was right before the quarantine. Like, okay, now I know some events I can travel and go and meet people. So social media started being on sale. Online sales are starting to pick up because that's where now I've exhausted all my friendships and all the people around me. Now I have to go and reach out, and that's where the online sales come.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would definitely
For me, I sell out of the back of my car. I have one of those plastic bins that I put my books in, and they're with me all the time, so that if I run into somebody that wants one, I have access to it.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. For me, I feel like it's important to have both set up those in persons, but also have ways online. Because I've sold more online, but when I'm in person, I've sold more at one time.
Yes.
And then I also, just left my head what that little tidbit I was about to say. But if it comes back around,
I thought it was just a senior moment.
something's happening. But yes, I would reiterate that both are very important with getting your book out there. Okay. Well, if there are no more questions, I just have one last one for all of us. So I want to know, what are your next steps from here? And so you guys can take that away. What are your next steps?
Well, I heard we got a couple books finna be written out here.
Yeah, so like I was saying, I plan to I think mine was just the idea of putting enlightenment out there. So I also, like I said, have the Enlightened Thoughts blog. I'll continue to do that, but I'm going to work on putting out a podcast. So that's why now on my blog on Instagram, if you go to Enlightened Thoughts, I've changed my post to like audio posts. So I give a quick message of inspiration and motivation. So that way my voice can get out there. So when I do start the podcast, I can use that as an implementation for people to get used to my voice. So that way, when I do the podcast, it'll be more based on that, but just playing the long ball game, I would say. So just starting it off, so then that way I can get people interested. So they just don't hear my voice and just so they can get used to it, I would say. And also just to write another book. I plan to try to do merch for the logo of Enlightenment. So I have a logo for it. I kind of want to branch it out into a business standpoint where I create like groups for, also high school students, but also young adults getting together as far as helping them build whatever they're trying to build. So I'm just figuring all that out. But I just use that idea, and it's helping me branch out in different aspects of entrepreneurship and also writing.
Dope.
For me, when it comes to next steps, one of the steps I'm in right now is when I wrote the book, it was in my head as a movie. And so, like I said, I'm a storyteller. So first thing I did was I took a lot of classes on how to script write. And so I just put my novel into a screenplay. So I've actually put it into a script so that it can go to, it has an option. I can start promoting it as a film as well, or something that can be produced in TV. Then the other thing is this book is 1 out of 3 in a series. So right now I'm finishing up the 3rd in Resonance. And so that one will be coming out. I'm hoping I'll be done by the end of summer. And then I can start this process over in fall and start phase 2 and then try to turn that into a script as well. So the next part for me is trying to learn that marketing on how do I make a submission for the movie script and things like that. So I'm still learning and share all this with my boys, because this really started with my boys in this same basement. When I found out they wanted to be writers, I'm like, oh man, I don't have nothing to give them. So now I want to do as much as I can so I can pass that to them. And the funny thing is going to be they'll probably grow up to be dentists or something. It had nothing to do with it. But that'd be cool. At least they have the experience.
Yeah, that's it, brother. That's it.
Yeah. For me, I've had several people approach me about helping them write their books. And the first one was a book of song lyrics, and I helped him get his book self-published and helped him with his book signing. And then another lady wanted to write a book on leadership, and I helped her get hers done. What effective leadership is and strategies for getting there. And now I'm working on a book with the NAACP on discrimination in the construction industries over the past 60 years. And so I haven't had a chance to write much on my own for helping other people. And this one has really gotten me motivated and highly inspired, because I love history, and especially Black history. So I've got all 4s in it. And so, but after this, I want to get back to my own writing. But that's it.
Awesome.
Awesome. And I'd say for me, I do have the 2nd book in the series on the way, as well as a fantasy book that's probably needs about 2 more years still to really sharpen up. But I'm going to be still refining my marketing process, getting Black Authors Pop-up, more community outreach. Right now we've got about 417 people following us, and then we have about about half of the group that's in the collective is actually in a Facebook group. So I definitely would suggest, if you're an author, go to Black Authors Pop-up MKE and then look in the group, add yourself to that, because I really want to get us talking to each other, bouncing off of each other. And I have some exciting news that I won't say yet, maybe at the next one, but I am trying to have a venue for Black authors in Black literature to have a more
Don't say too much. Don't say too much. Don't say too much.
Don't say too much, but
Okay.
I'm excited.
It's okay.
So,
that's what's up. And next for us with True School, we also had to postpone our book drive. We do a book drive along with our annual library celebration, collecting books locally for our little libraries. We have little libraries around the city in community gardens, a project with Groundwork Milwaukee. Big shout out Groundwork Milwaukee with the community gardens. We built and installed, I think, over a dozen within the last 2 summers. And we're going to do some more of that this summer. But we also were on the verge of collecting 1,000 books and school supplies to send to establish a library in Uganda this summer. We did a library in Ghana 2 years ago. We took a year off, and we're going to do Uganda. Probably just won't happen this year, just based on the climate of everything outside. But we also have published 2 small summer projects with our young high school students, one a coloring book and one an activity book with Sculpture MKE. So if you go up and down Wisconsin Avenue in the summertime, they have these sculptures that they imported and installed from all around the world. So our students created an activity booklet with games, with interactive puzzles, Instagram challenges, and also information about the artists, about the sculptures, about the process. And so that was a really interesting project that we're going to pursue again this year. So getting young people actually publishing their own work, getting them actually to collaborate and think about pursuing education and careers in literacy, literature, fine arts, publishing, all that good stuff. So we appreciate you all. And if y'all have any insight or any, again, any awareness or any information that you think will help with young people, feel free to send it our way. And again, thank you all so much for participating and spending your time with us.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
All right. And then so like Fidel was saying, in the chat, you can see the links to everyone's books and also Facebook groups like the Milwaukee Writers Circle. You can take this time, if there was a particular author you had extra questions for, just go ahead, shoot them a message, or you can shoot me a message. I'm going to put my email in the chat. And I can get you in contact with them. So just as a way to network or ask further questions, you can shoot them a message now, or just shoot me an email to get in contact with them. All right. Does anybody have any closing comments?
Oh, well, I would like to just say one, thank you. Again, as a first-time author, really trying to learn, like, and you spoke to it earlier. It's a craft. You gotta hone your skills. You gotta learn what's out there. So just to be a part of this and to hear other ideas. I mean, I even got something I'm gonna start my homework on once we get offline and look at that marketing piece. Just great opportunity, and it's also good that you reach out to the young people, because I was one of those guys that the external world told me what success was, and so I wanted that shirt and tie, and when I finally got it, I didn't like it. So it's a great chance for kids and everyone to hear. Just follow your dreams. Always have a backup plan, and do what makes you feel right. And so, thank you for the opportunity, and I learned a lot today.
Boom.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking this time out of your day, and hopefully we'll be able to get another one together for you guys coming soon.
That would be
Thank
good.
you too, Satonia. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
You guys, one more thing. You guys are welcome. I hope you will join the Milwaukee Writers Circle so we can help each other and learn from each other
Yes, ma'am.
more often, to attend some of our critique groups, right, Lewis? There are.
That harsh feedback is good.
Yeah.
Real
So it's the
talk.
good feedback when you're doing something good. Oh, this works. I
Yeah.
really love that. You know, give me some more of that.
All right. Well, then you all have a great night. Once again, that email is right here. I'll stay back a little bit in case you need to write down anything or copy links, but I will see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your week.
Everyone stay safe.
Stay safe.
Stay safe and healthy.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.